The True Agenda of the Archon, Anunnaki and Draco Cabal. June 9, 2017. Michael Love. Summary, and notes. The data contained herein comes to a troubling conclusion, but the important point here is to create awareness of what has happened, and still is happening to all beings of Earth. We also want to emphasize below, the only solution of how to stop this control in its tracks. There is a universal directive all beings of this universe are subject to, and it says, any being can do as they will, even overtake another's free will in a harmful manner, but permission must be granted in every situation for this to take place. Without consensual contractual agreement, no being, including the Dark Ones, can do harm to another in any way. The universal law of free will works every time, but only if invoked correctly on an individual basis. The larger goal is, of course, to shine this light for the collective so global and cosmic freedom is attainable. Why would anyone in their right mind give permission to be harmed, as is the case on planet Earth, and across the cosmos? The answer is, no one would unless they were ignorant of what was being done. The Archons use implied consent to control and destroy the beings of Earth. Get away with it, because they have a valid case. The Archon's defensive case in cosmic court goes something like this. Since the majority of humans allow us to control them, via ignorance and trickery, it is presumed that all beings agree to this. Furthermore, since an individual being does not stand up and say, I do not consent, then, it is presumed they are in agreement with all other humans who are in the dark, and with us, the Archons. Case closed. In appeal on behalf of humans, now comes the Archangel Defenders of Free Will to the Grand Celestial Courts. We bring this light information to open all eyes as part of our grand mission to Earth. Here is our testimony, and case before the Grand Council, and Prime Creator. Dear ones, we ask, where is all of the Archon Cabal activity that we are seeing daily on planet Earth, and throughout the cosmos, ultimately trying to lead us? Is it just simply that they want to be in control of everyone living on the planet? Is it nothing more than wanting to have all of the money, and to call all of the shots for the masses that compel them to do these sordid things? Do they want to kill 90% of the people on Earth just to save the planet itself from overpopulation, as some of them claim? Though this is a low-level, partial agenda of the Archons, these facts barely scratch the surface of the real purpose. The real goals of the ruling cabal are far darker, and more evil than most people can conceive of, because it goes both off-world, and then literally transmogrifies into a long-term and overreaching agenda which has very little to do with the somewhat trite notion of elites ruling the world. The actual agenda takes us directly into the mire of the Archon, Anunnaki, and Draco reptilian control matrix. Most of the unenlightened henchmen who are, or have been working very hard in support of the New World Order, really have no concept of who they are truly working for. Even those who are in the upper echelons of management, or the higher-ups within both world government positions, and the military, which albeit are great positions of power and authority, still have no idea what the ultimate goal of all of this black magic is, and even worse, just where all of this occult darkness is leading us. These are not stupid people by any means. Installed within the positions I've listed, we have men and women who have working knowledge of time travel, teleportation, anti-gravity-driven spacecraft, super-advanced ancient technologies found on the Moon, Mars, and yes, even on the Earth. They have knowledge of extraterrestrials, extra-dimensionals, and alternative timelines, and all of the parallel universes of space, and yet even they don't completely know where all of this secrecy leads, and what these convoluted compartmentalizations were designed so carefully to keep under wraps. So why are they helping? It's all deception. From the top to the bottom, and everywhere in between, The lie is different at every level. As a result, and through a system of worldwide corruption, which includes bribes, blackmail, murder, drug running, worldwide weapons sales, mind control, human sex trafficking, pedophilia, and ultimately even the satanic ritualistic blood sacrifices of young children, which are used to feed very real discarnate beings that live on other frequency levels just outside of our range of sight. We have millions of henchmen who are either terrified, or totally corrupted minions, who have become the mid-level management of this bizarre off-world control matrix, and are thus walking, and stumbling forward, while doing what they are told, with no real clue as to where it all leads, because even they are just grunts. Only a handful of the world's top leaders know this goes off-world. This is not something told to all mid-level management. For who would willingly commit treason against their own species, while helping an other-dimensional satanic force to take over? The lie is different at every level. Even those at the very top think they've been told the truth by these off-worlders. It is everyone else who gets lied to, but not them. How is it that a group of Satan-worshipping Luciferians could manage to infiltrate the highest levels of government, the Vatican, the military, and even age-old secret societies like the Templars, the Freemasons, and the Knights of Malta? The lie would have to be so huge as to be almost indistinguishable from the truth. These people, including military leaders, bankers, corporate CEOs, clergy, media executives, top judges, top law enforcement, and top lawyers, Hollywood producers, and actors, along with a gaggle of NSA, NRO, CIA, FBI, DHS, KGB, FSB, Mossad, MI5 and 6 would have been told some of what's being planned so they could carry out their portion of the plan, but they've been lied to about the rest. Because, if they were told the entire agenda, then even they would not want to go along with it. Here are the cliff notes on the real end game, and all of the dots finally connected, which no one can seem to connect for all of the seemingly chaotic and disconnected things currently happening on the Earth, which is by design. We as a group are currently living within a synthetically created magnetic hologram. It is ages old, and until quite recently was serving an agenda that most people were unaware of. It has to do with an alien-directed disconnect from Prime Creator, or what some people may even call the Source. As an artificially created construct, our 3D reality is actually quite similar to the Matrix as was seen and described in the TV movie, only with many differences of course, since our 3D bodies are not actually locked into pods in a machine-like world, and stacked in order to create tall buildings. This hologram was developed, designed, and is being run by both on-world, black occult magicians, and off-world reptilian and human hybrids, who are masters at both deception and mind control. Long ago, the original organic and divine human body form, the physical body that we, as Earth humans, use to inhabit, while living in 3D, was given a reptilian-based genetic downgrade. Many strands of our DNA, genetic code were totally disconnected from the single primary strands in order to disconnect us from the great cosmic intelligence, which as immortal and eternal souls, we had always been connected to. They did this, so that we as a complete group would accept their mind control programs, and once that was achieved, they began to compel us to very actively behave in ways that were quite destructive to both ourselves, and to our planet. This was a necessity, because they needed us to behave in very low vibrational ways in order to achieve a very controlled and illusionary reality which could not have happened otherwise. This is because what we call our reality is a collectively created, and very changeable, or moldable day-to-day magical, magnetical, and illusory environment, which can literally move back up the scale toward extremely high vibrations, if not totally monitored, and controlled daily to keep it from doing so. This is the true reason that we are seeing mind-controlled, and low-vibratory behavior happening daily all over the planet. Through the worldwide controlled media, a continuously negative news stream is carefully dispensed through devices, including TV, radio, magazines, newspapers, which actually use either frequencies, or symbolism, and sacred geometry to hijack, and stimulate the human brain in such a way as to hypnotically mold its perceptions toward a base vibrational program which is very important to their control of our reality. It is important for many reasons, but mostly, because it is our collective behavior, which includes all of our thoughts, all of our words, and all of our actions, when we are interacting with each other here on Earth that literally assist them in both creating, and then sustaining the magnetic prison that we all together are living in, and that literally exists all around us, however invisible it may be. The careful use, and manipulation of this secret, esoteric, and ancient knowledge has everything to do with the tandem Earth grids, or the ley lines that skirt the surface of the planet, and the duplicate grid of ley lines that is approximately 60 miles high above the planet, all of which are highly magnetic, and are symbiotically functional frequency regulators that greatly depend upon the transmitted, or transmuted energies of human beings to create visual holographic representations of reality. Do not underestimate the importance of this. Our consciousness, which includes our focused thoughts, words, and actions, assisted by the conveniently structured sacred geometry of all of the government, military, and religious buildings that were placed directly on top of these ley lines, and at major intersection points along the grid are being captured, then highly distorted, and then funneled back into the tandem grids in order to control, redirect, and ultimately use these transmuted human energies to forcefully create a designer reality. This would not be possible without the bastardized use of the magnetic grids, and the continuous force-feeding of negative energy backward into these sacred grids. Once again, the importance of this cannot be overstated. It is the key to their whole hijacking operation. This controlled prison matrix has worked very well for thousands of years until Prime Creator himself finally got involved in the matter, and said no more. It is against his cosmic law to do what these very high-frequency, but obviously dark beings, have been doing to both the Earth, and to those who have incarnated here. Some literally arrived on the Earth, eons ago, and having been trapped here ever since in endless cycles of reincarnation. The unfortunate beings who actually incarnated here, eons ago, and have been stuck, or trapped inside of this synthetic frequency prison for so long, have literally forgotten who they truly are. They no longer have any idea that they are eternal souls of Prime Creator, or that they are simply reincarnating here on the Earth over and over again, and living baseless lives that serve only the dark dreams of those higher dimensional beings who are now feeding off of the Matrix. When Prime Creator finally said no more, an epic war was started between those who are of the light, and those who are in support of the dark ones. Those in support of Prime Creator were indignant that these certain high beings, and players within the universal game of free will, would not stand down, and release the poor unfortunate souls they were holding prisoner in such a deceitful way as to claim in front of all that they were actually choosing it. These dark beings had long ago decided that they wanted to be cut off from Prime Creator, so they could then live in a way that suits their desires without ever having to move on. Fast forward to recent times. Because of Prime Creator's decision to put a stop to this, the Galactic Center is now sending out gamma waves of very high-frequency light waves, as well as higher-dimensional, transformational light photons, which are literally designed not only to reconnect the damaged DNA strands within the maligned human form, but to also cause human beings to literally bypass several of the very controlled frequency levels where the Archon, Anunnaki, Dracos exist. This would then deny them access to us permanently, and block their use of our consciousness as a food source. As a result of this action, the war has gotten way out of hand, and we have come to be where we are at the present moment. For the past 70 to 100 years, those who are working with, and in support of the Archon, Anunnaki, Draco agenda, both human and non-human, have been working very hard, behind the scenes, to genetically create a brand new human body form which can live on the surface of the earth in an even more controlled way. This genetic research has already been done in secret, in deep underground labs, and by using some of the best genetic scientists the world has to offer, working alongside of their own. Many of these scientists were never told the truth of what they were working on. Some were told that it was a new body for the Greys, or any lie, other than the fact that it was actually a new, and better prison suit for human souls. Enter free will. The one stumbling block to this entire plan of the dark, and the subject of my now many previous articles, is that of free will. Backing up in time. When Prime Creator got involved, and said enough, he was immediately challenged by the Dark, who claimed that he was reneging on his own decree that this was a free will universe. The Dark maintained that, if it was truly a free will universe, then they had a right to both disconnect from him, and to never have to progress past where they were, if they didn't want to. And, because they had an infinite crop, or source of energy to feed off of in the form of younger upward-coming souls, they figured there was nothing that could be done to stop them, regardless of what was decided. It was at this point that they were told that they could do what they wanted as long as each soul was always given a choice in the matter. So you can now see their dilemma. They have been told that they can do what they want, but those countless souls who they were depending upon to feed them with energy, needed to always be given a choice as to whether they will participate with the dark, or not. This did not sit well with these very high-level dark frequency beings, because they formulated that eventually their plan would end, because no one would participate of their own free will. Thus, in order to counter this potentially unwanted outcome, the first version of the dumbed-down human body form was created, and installed on the Earth. The Earth's magnetic grids were hijacked, and began to produce a fake, synthetic reality, so that even when given a free will choice, due to the extremely low vibrations covering the Earth, and the endless mind control being used on them, the human souls themselves would simply always choose the dark path. Problem solved. Needless to say, Prime Creator was not impressed with the solution that the dark energy beings came up with to solve their problem of diminishing returns once free will was accorded to every soul. Since he wanted these dark beings to return to him, he gave them another chance, and told them that they must always tell the human souls caught in their prison in advance what they were going to do here on Earth, so that souls collectively would really be able to make an honest choice. Not wanting to do this, but forced to cooperate, the dark beings started to use symbols, and languages with words that had double, and even triple meanings, and then by switching the words from backwards to forwards, and vice versa, and even by putting these mixed-up words in obscure places, and doing it years in advance of any action they intended to do. They thus claimed to be fulfilling Prime Creator's directive of giving everyone here advance notice. Again Prime Creator shook his head. Maybe you can finally understand why I personally am having a real problem with these beings. The real amusing thing here is that there are literally millions of adult men, and women living on Earth, right now as we speak, who are totally in service to these beings, and don't even know it. For money, fame, status, and reward, they are willing to carry out the agenda. They are dressed in business suits, and work in the very halls of government, education, business, religion, the military, the media, science, Hollywood, and, if they are in public life, they do stupid things like flash the pyramid symbol, or the so-called all-seeing eye, or go on TV, and stick out their tongue into the pyramid symbol, and use any number of secret handshakes, or symbols to show they are in service to the dark, without really knowing what that dark really wants. Getting back to the present. The reason those in service to the dark needed to use human scientists to help them is not because they could not do this work by themselves, it is so that they can make the claim to Prime Creator, and to the higher universal and cosmic councils that the Earth human beings themselves were very complicit in this plan, and thus consented to it fully. They needed this one loophole plugged, if they hoped to get away with their plan, which is constantly being reviewed by very high cosmic beings. The biggest problem for the dark is this: the old genetically downgraded human body form, the one which you see everywhere, walking on the planet, the one which we all incarnate into, is no longer working to hold our consciousness down to a very low vibrational level, and we as a group are literally breaking free of the hold that it has had on us. This was Prime Creator's intention. The Cabal, however, is not giving up so easily. They decided to create an entirely new, and even more disconnected human body form, or human body suit for all of the souls that are still caught within the prison matrix. This body suit will not only be dumbed down far below what we currently have now, it will be even more controllable. It will have machine parts, and machine technology inserts all throughout it which will assist in total, AI, computer control of the living being, such that almost no ability exists for the poor incarnated soul within that body to have a free will choice other than what those who are in control of it want. So now that you know this, how can they ever hope to get this past the universal councils and Prime Creator? They are going to make the claim that this is exactly what the Earth humans wanted all along, of their own free will, to be enslaved. They are doing so by tacit consent, because these humans are not saying no to it. They are saying that all of the freedoms being taken away daily are being consented to by the majority of the species. They say humans are asking for more and more protections from the government. They say humans are afraid, and thus want these restrictions in order to feel safe. The newly created human body suit will be exactly the safest place for the soul that is afraid. It will be provided to that soul, because that's what they want. They don't want freedom, they want safety. They want safety inside this nice synthetic reality prison. At this time, the dark is currently terraforming the planet by chemtrailing it daily, and also changing the environment by placing toxic nuclear waste dumps everywhere, and by also using weather modification to get the surface world into a better frequency range for the new hybrid bodies to operate within. Remember, the Earth is actually a frequency. If the frequency is too high, the new hybrid bodies will not live long, or function well within it. They are being specifically designed to live in a very low, and quite toxic vibration. For those who think this is all too far-fetched, this has been done before. The Greys are the perfect example of actual living beings whose souls were forced into genetically manipulated bodies which were then very controllable by the Dracos. They have no real free will, and are considered to be a servant race to the Dracos all over the universe. The real plan, known only to the highest members of the Cabal, is to get rid of the old disconnected body form, by killing off 90% of the Earth's population, and thus exterminating the old body suit that is no longer working for them. Then, they will drag out the new body suit, the Human 3.0 suit, which has already been created, and is waiting in the underground labs, and through a process most people cannot even conceive of, literally force all the souls who cannot get free of the Earth's gravity, back into the reincarnational cycle, and into these newly created, and very machine-like bodies. Problem again solved. If this occurs, it will be almost impossible for anyone in this free will universe, even Prime Creator himself, to help these souls who did not stand up for themselves, and stand up against this takeover, which is becoming more and more obvious by the day. This is the reason for the war, and the very reason why all of the loving souls have incarnated here at this time, and are being called into very positive and loving action. It is action, 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 in thought, word, and deed which has the greatest effect upon this magnetic hologram. It is positive, light-filled action every day which returns the endless energies being backward forced into the earth grids. Yes. Love is the greatest power there is. I have personally written about this many times. And is the plan of those who came here to use love, to literally dissolve the Matrix. However, this is the part of the Harry Potter movie where Harry tells his friends that Voldemort has finally discovered that they are hunting Horcruxes, and literally destroying them. And, now that he knows, boy is he pissed. The Cabal has finally discovered that millions upon millions of light-orientated beings are now here on Earth, and are using the love vibration against them, and boy are they pissed. They have now declared an all-out war on every living being on the planet that is not one of them. These higher-frequency dark souls who are the so-called overlords of this planet do not want to progress, ever. They do not want to move forward within Prime Creator's plan of soul growth evolution. They are happy with what they have attained, and, because they have unplugged themselves from Prime Creator's universal system of energetic support, they are now in need of other beings to feed off of in the form of raw battery-like energy/current, currency, which will allow them to live forever as totally free, and separate part, eternally cut off from Prime Creator, and his rules. Remember, this is a free will universe. Prime Creator has said so, so they, the Dark Ones, are now claiming to be well within their rights of free will to stay exactly where they are, and to not have to make progress ever. The rules of free will in this universe are absolute, but they do not work like most people think they do. Yes, there are lessons here to learn, but they are not structured in the way that most people think they are structured. It is all about the choices that you make at each and every moment of your life. But, it is far more than that. It is not only about what you choose to do here. It is also very much about what you do not choose to do here, as well. Only 50% of the total vibrational grade has to do with what you are choosing to do daily. The other 50%, in order for perfect and total balance to be achieved, has to be about what you did not choose as well. That, my friends, is the other side of the coin, and there really are two sides. Which is why I am literally beating the drum every single day saying, hey, everyone out there, half of the vital ingredients are missing from the recipe that assists each soul in gaining their vibrational freedom. If you do not speak out, and go on record against the agenda as it is occurring on the planet right in front of you visually, then a very important rule of free will says that you tacitly consented to it, and are also in support of it. If you do not actively say no, then it can be assumed according to the rules that you said yes. There is only one way around this rule. You can act like the yogis of the past, go live in a cave, and meditate all day long. And by your actions of not participating in the illusionary world at all, the magnetic hologram, you thusly have not consented to it. Therefore, you have literally removed yourself from the system by your daily actions and deeds of non-consent. This was how they got around the rule of tacit consent, and were eventually freed from the hologram. Very few souls have been able to do it this way. Another way is to have someone who is already free from the hologram take on all of the responsibility for you as a soul, which is also very rare, and this hardly ever happens. Those who has not taken these drastic and dramatic steps, and who are still using the system in their everyday lives, are thus tacitly consenting to it unless they are speaking out against it. You can also file a public decree using a declaration of non-consent. Believe it, or not, this decree works in the Matrix, because the Matrix is simply a holographic extension of the Archons, who must abide by universal law. An interesting note about the ancient Archon mind parasites. If you Google the definition of Archon, you will see that is means a ruler, magistrate, or public official. Just look at all of the so-called online contracts that are being handed to you by the likes of Google and Facebook every day now. They are showing you how it is now, because they have to. Every time a new change comes out in their software and their online programs, they automatically opt you into all of the changes. You are automatically set up to be included into everything they want. This is not an accident. Unless you take action to opt out of whatever new idea they have, by doing something very physical like pushing buttons, and removing your consent to the new changes, you are opted in. Is this happening by chance? No, they are showing you what you must know, because they are compelled to do this by cosmic law. They are showing you very clearly that, if you do not choose to opt out of their system of ideas, under their rules and laws, you will be opted into them, and counted as complicit. Yes, there are rules to this game, only they are not the rules that you have been hearing about for decades. Every court system in the world operates in the exact way that I've just described to you, and has been doing so for almost 100 years now. Is this an accident? No. I don't care how much you object to what I am saying in this one article. The truth is that, if you are dragged into a courtroom by the police, you are automatically opted into their system from the moment you get there, unless you take very real and courageous steps to opt out. I, and many others, have said this over and over again now. The data and the information is out there for everyone to see. By being opted into their system, real consequences will take place for you in your life. About this, no one who has ever been to a courtroom can argue. So the real question is this: why? Do you think it is different on the higher levels? What are the higher levels? How many people have been there and seen them? Do you understand what happens on the higher levels when you do get there? Even if you find yourself more or less comfortable on the other side temporarily, what kind of body will be available for you to incarnate into, if the Cabal gets its way? The Matrix needs to go. It can be destroyed. It's the dark energy being sent into the grids which has to be changed. This we can only do collectively, as a large group. By removing our consent to everything the Cabal is attempting to do to us, they lose power. There are grand beings of love working with each soul. Daily action is necessary to break the Matrix. Now is the time to do it once and for all.